Kuala Lumpur and joined IBM India Limited as Executive Director, Human Resources. May I please request Mr. Akhil Basrai, as Session Chair, to please come up on the dais. I would now like to request all the eminent speakers to please come up on the dais. Mr. Rajiv Kapoor, he is the Executive Vice President, HR, JCB India Limited. Mr. Basab Gordoloi, Vice President, HR, Domino's Pizza India Limited. Mr. S. Vardarajan, EVP and Chief Human Resources Officer, Quattro BPO Solutions. And last but not the least, Mr. Shantanu Banerjee, Director, HR, Steria India Limited. I would now hand over the proceedings to Mr. Akhil Basrai as Session Chairman. So please.
Is everybody outside?
Mr. Kapoor is Executive Vice President, Human Resources at JCB India and looking after all JCB facilities and businesses in India. He's had 23 years of enriched work experience with him. He has been a member of CII HR National Committee and North India HR Committee and also convener of HR Panel CII Haryana. He also holds the position as a president of Faridabad Management Association affiliated to IMA. Mr. Kapoor is General Secretary of Faridabad Industries Association and Chairman of HR and IR Panel of Faridabad Industries Association. He is a regular speaker at industrial forums, HR forums, seminars, ILO workshops, management schools, etc. He has recently convened 2 CII national level seminars on HR and ER. I would now request sir to please come up on the dais and address the gathering.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me in the last row? Can you hear me? Can you see me also with this pillar? Well, we have 4 speakers today. We'll start with Rajiv. They'll be requested to give you a presentation. So they'll be speaking for about 15 minutes each. And then we'll have enough time left over about 20 to 25 minutes at the end of the session for question answers. You are free to note down questions. I would prefer if we keep your questions for the end of the session after all the 4 speakers have finished the presentation. The session today will focus on top talent, especially in the context of market when it starts picking up. All the conferences, quite a large number of conferences in the last 6-8 months, have always talked about gloom and doom of how everything is going down, how the industry is going to a slump, how the market is shrinking. But there are certain indications, not very firm, but very early indications of recovery that is happening. And very few organizations or individual professionals are paying attention to the fact that getting prepared for an upturn is equally important as preparing for managing a downturn. What I would request each presenters to touch upon is their own personal experiences from their own background or from the organization, talk about the top talent of search, and then leave some new thoughts behind so that when we have a question answer session, we have more interactions. So can I now request Shantanu to change the order? If Shantanu can start his presentation, please.
Thank you, Akhil, and thanks everyone, my absolute esteemed friends and beloved friends also on the stage, friends in the audience, and our special occasion. Over the next 15 minutes, I will try to share some of my thoughts with regard to retention of top talent during upsurge. The key word is there's a difference in upsurge. Things are positive. As Akhil said, that it was only doom and gloom, but now we are talking about something positive coming up. So what sort of policies and practices organizations can do? I'll share some of my thoughts, there are many, but I'll share some of them with you. I come from the IT industry, so you'll have some relevance to the IT industry also, where, as you know, attrition is a big challenge. When the BPO section, they talk about attrition at 30%, 40%, and in the ITs, they talk about 15-20% sometimes. But we are fortunate to be an organization called Steria, which is a French IT organization, and which has an attrition sub 13%. So obviously we must be doing something, our retention strategies must be working. So let me share with you what we do. First slide, just a warm-up slide. A simple words from the famous Dr. Shumanta Ghoshal says, competition is the biggest management tool. Simple words, if there was no competition, all the discussion would be happening, whatever we did would survive, people left us, knowledge dilution, anything can happen. Doesn't matter. But since there is competition, all these things are important. And the bottom line is very important at this juncture where the market is looking up. So upsurge just around the corner. You can see out there, TCS says we're going to recruit 25,000 over the next 2 years. You can see Wipro saying 8,000 this year. So the recruitment has started. We know Shell, that is early Zakat's company, they have set up a captive in Chennai. They're poaching people from us at a full pace if they can. They're taking a lot of people. So there is recruitment happening and it's not all doom now. So in this context, we need to be competitive. Competitive means we need to have people with us. We need to have people who can deliver. We need to have those efficiency people who can drive that. And ultimately it says our organizations all work on the basis of what it has inside. And ultimately in a knowledge industry or in an industry which is service oriented, it's people. Machine is certainly there, but it is people ultimately that delivers. So let's look at competitiveness from strategy level, operational level, and people level. So I'm not getting into the strategy and ops level, but if you see from a people level, it's about pride and passion about the group of people who work in the organization, it's building about skills and competencies, and the vision alignment, that the efforts are focused towards a particular direction. And that is extremely key. I don't think the sound is working. Can I have the sound, please? Volume.
Is achieved by chasing the impossible.
Can you get somewhere volume, please?
Excellence calls for thinking 20 steps ahead. Excellence is achieved by chasing the impossible.
It's into action, like an Usain Bolt. Running at full speed, you can see that. It's about a person like Vishwanathan who can think 20 steps ahead. You need people in the organization who can preempt, who can look ahead. Not the ordinary talent, we're talking of top talent in this presentation. And chase the impossible, Anil Kumble's sort of spirit, going for 10 wickets. So that's what we're saying. We're talking of top talent in the organization and not talent. Talent, of course, everyone in the organization is a talent. So we're especially looking for top talent and of course some good talent in the organization. So what policies and processes can HR bring to the party to ensure retention? What do employees look for to stay with an organization? So there was a survey done for many 10 countries, and here is some of the data which we have. It is a bit small. I'll read it out for you from India context. From India context, what is it that an employee needs or expects to commit itself to be with an organization? Firstly, it's in order of importance, manager quality, the people management processes in the organization, the job, impact, senior leadership reputation in that organization, respect, meritocracy in the organization, that there is a process, merit is rewarded, innovation and development opportunities, diversity and ethics, values. So these are some of the key things that a person looks for when you set out organization for retention, commit. So when you draw the strategies, obviously these need to be taken into account. You need to have a meritocracy-based organization. You need to ensure that the manager is able to manage properly. There's a proper way of identification of talent. All this stuff has to be there. And of course, the way the people policies are rolled out to people, how it touches people is extremely key. So, you will see from the olden days from 1980s to 90s to 2000, there's been a shift in what basically employees are expecting. Earlier employees, when we talked about manpower, we talked about high cost. What does employee cost organization? It's about reducing cost. That was the only aspect we should talk about. Then we got into the 90s, we started about, oh, they are great assets, human resource capital, basically capital management, balance sheet orientation, all these things came in. So what was the employee worth? In today's world, the shift has come to top talent, where they're saying, what is the organization worth to the employee? So it has shifted a bit other side. What is the organization worth to the employee? So the focus on engagement and unleashing that special power that employee possesses and getting the best out of the people. So if the organization has to focus on getting the best out of the talent, and that will ensure the person feels more engaged with the organization and feels like staying with the organization. We in our organization realized when I came in, and I've been speaking about this for a number of times, we realized in the IT market where there's a particularly heavy boom, not that today's world, we're talking about search coming up. People normally have a job in their pocket when they join the company, and maybe one in the pipeline also. And they'll be joining. Now, if you don't make the right impression the first week or the first month, you can be rest assured sooner or later they'll leave you very soon. Maybe the first month itself, first 3 months itself. We had this issue in our company also when I came in, around 3 years back. We had an attrition rate of 40% among this group of people. 40%. Overall attrition for the company was somewhere at 25-26%. But 40% was attrition among this group of people. So huge amount of attrition. So what we call infant mortality. So there was huge amount of infant mortality in the company of employees joining and leaving soon. Joining, leaving soon. Huge loss of company cost, investment, everything. So we had to find a solution. So we worked out together, brought out a solution called the baby care process. Infant mortality, a baby care process. But I know baby care doesn't sound very, very interesting, so we gave it a bit more sophisticated name, and we call it the 7-stage employee assimilation program, 7-stage EAP, right? So 7-stage employee assimilation program, it breaks up the whole employee interaction and employee touch points into 7 factors of 7 at 7 basically periodicity. What are those? 7 seconds, 7 minutes, 7 hours, 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, 7 quarters. Simple to remember, everyone can remember. And 7 processes. Each are SLA-driven processes. 7 seconds for a new joiner is the gate experience. So there is a welcome card waiting for the person. Person will sign, and the person doesn't have to run around to say who he wants to meet or she wants to meet that day. Person is delighted, I come out here, I'm welcome to the organization, a card is given, and I get it. 7 minutes, I'm at the reception. The HR person is waiting to welcome the person in with an onboarding kit, which explains about the company policy processes and all the joining forms are there. The joining exercise starts within the first 7 hours, that's the first day experience. By which the temporary ID, all these things passes, email IDs are allocated to the person. So this having done, by afternoon, the induction kicks off. 7 days is the first week's experience. There are again some SLAs to be delivered in the 7 days, which would be about giving a laptop or a PC, a workstation, introducing to the team members, walk through the organization, all this stuff happens in that. Cafeteria passes, all this stuff happens within the first 7 days. 7 quarters is a huddle back after 6 weeks to see with a questionnaire at the back, are all these things handled and cleared up for your side, so there are no more irritants for the employee. Because high-performing employees, they have offers. If they don't feel good or treated well or lost running around the place and searching for everything, they will leave. They will not stay with the organization. So that's the first 7 weeks, 7 months. Normally, most companies, we also have it, 6 months probation, 7-month confirmation or extension. So if that discussion, there's a structured discussion to the effect, telling the person extremely good words that you've done a good job, this is what you're doing good, what do you want to do next, and how are you feeling the organization. Or it could be, I think you're not doing too well, but okay, it doesn't matter, I think you need to work on these areas, and work for 3 more months, there's an extension. So it's handled with care. And the last, which I put out is 7 quarters, is what we call the career discussion. 6 basically quarters in the organization, 1.5 years, and you want after the 2 years, what will I do next? Is it the same job for the next 10 years? Or I'm going to have a job shift and a job rotation after 2 years or 2.5 years? That discussion happens basically after the 7th quarter. So these are structured movements, completely driven, and these are mind you absolutely at the back end, there are automated systems which completely ensure that these things are being handled. So as you can see, there's a Lotus Note-based system to ensure each of the stages are monitored, tracked, and we have a compliance report to that effect to see what level of compliance is happening at each level. Effect is very clear. By doing this, what has happened? Our attrition 40% at this level now is at around about 8 to 6% level, within that range, 6 to 8% level. So a direct impact on basically retention is happening. And as I said, the overall attrition levels have come down to 30%. These are also explained to all the people, mind you. These are processes which are not done by HR only. Right? So as we said, the sound please. Right. So, right. So there are processes which I explain to people when they take it out there. So this is one of the main processes which does. Right. So if this happens in the organization, the next stage, which is a program called simple program called I, enhance your education. We use education to basically tie up people in the organization. So we have that with leading universities and institutions where we partner in the expenses of the person and help the person to do the distance course of MBAs and MTechs and MCAs while working in the organization. It helps to retain people when people feel they're invested upon